So yesterday I went out of town, and my original plan was to not talk about politics for the day. I'd actually made my videos the day before and set them to come out so that I could just have the day and relax and unwind and kind of clear my head. Went down to Asheville, North Carolina, and walked around the town, had a really good time. I went back, checked into my room, and I was like, I'm going to take a short nap. Then I'm going to go back out on the town and see some more of the place. So I lay down, I take the short nap, and when I wake up, my phone has just absolutely exploded with messages from everybody under the sun telling me about what had happened at the Trump rally. And so there was no getting away from it at that point. There was no clearing my head because that was a massive event in American history that happened. And ended up going live last night and just kind of reacting last night to the information that we had at hand. But after I've had time to think about it on my way back home today, the drive back home, I kind of had time to just let it all soak in. The one thing I really wanted to talk about today was the reaction that we're seeing on both sides of the aisle. And sadly, it's been pretty predictable as to how it would all go down. On the Democratic side of the aisle, we've saw the overwhelming majority of Democrats, I've really not saw one say otherwise, who has went out of their way to condemn political violence and say that we can never stand for that, and to say that we need to bring the temperature down in the room. Everyone seems to be unified that, you know what, this has got out of hand, and we really need to rein it in, and we need to call out political violence at all costs. On the other side with Maga, you got the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Lauren Boeberts of the world, people like that who are already going to town, blaming this on Biden, and all they're doing is just stoking the flames and stoking the fires even worse. And I really debated when I sat down to do this video if I wanted to pull their quotes up on the screen. I could if I wanted to. But folks, I don't even want to give them the airtime on this one because I just feel it's so disgusting. And I know that you've seen it. I know that you guys have seen it, or maybe you chose to look away from them. So I'm not going to give them the time. I just really don't think they deserve it on this one. I'm sure later on I probably will do videos reacting to the higher brain things that they're going to say. But today I would just like to focus on the fact that when people tells you both sides are the same, we are not. Because our side has not called for political violence. That's not who we are. We condemn the political violence that happened yesterday. This is not how we wanted to see Donald Trump held accountable. I have said that in my videos before. I've also said it to anyone out there who's ever made an offhanded comment or an offhanded joke about Trump. I've always said, no, that is not what needs to happen. We do not want to see that happen. That would be the worst thing that could happen for this country. What we want to see is Donald Trump held accountable for the things that he did. We want to see him. We don't want to see him above the law. We don't want to see him have immunity. We don't want to see him become dictator on day one. And so I've had a lot of messages from people who have been very supportive and concerned. I've also had a lot of hate mail from people saying that it's people like me. It's us. It's our fault. And that's how the right is going to paint this, that it's our fault because we called Donald Trump out. And folks, I'm just going to point this out and be very blunt here. Calling an insurrectionist is not trying to incite violence. Calling a sexual abuser is not trying to incite violence. Calling a convicted felon is not trying to incite political violence. And wanting to see someone held accountable and wanting to see them not be allowed to be above the law, that is not calling for violence. That's not how I wanted to beat Donald Trump yesterday. That's not what I wanted to see. I wanted to see us beat him with ballots in November. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the American people vote this man down once and for all. And that's what needs to still happen. We still need to realize that yesterday really doesn't change anything, folks. It doesn't change the facts of the things that Donald Trump did. It doesn't change the fact of the temperature that he created in the room, and that his son and MAGA is continuing to go out there and push immediately without knowing all the facts. They're going ahead and throwing it out there anyway. And what Donald Trump should be doing, if he had one shred of human decency, he should be trying to bring the temperature down in the room. He should be saying to his son, hey, back off, that this wasn't Joe Biden. If he really gave a damn about this country and didn't want to see the violence escalate any further, he would come out and say, listen, stop spreading conspiracy theories. Don't buy into this stuff. We condemn political violence on both sides of the aisle. I've had Democratic politicians standing up for me. I had the president call me on the phone. That's what we should be hearing from him. But we're not yet, and we may not hear it. I don't have much faith that we will. But to anyone out there that tries to paint this that both sides are the same, I think clearly the reaction of both sides proves once and for all that we are not like them. We are not that kind of person. And just because we was over here wanting to see someone held accountable does not mean we ever wanted to see harm done to them or anyone that supports them. I have messages from people every day that says the most offhanded, cruel-hearted stuff you could ever imagine. I don't want to see those people hurt. I don't want to see violence. That's the worst thing that could happen to this nation. I don't want to ever see that. What I want to see is people be held to account and have to bring facts and evidence to the table. And that's why I've said in my live last night, there was people popping up saying, this looks staged to me. This looks like this whole thing was rigged. And what I say to anyone who says that is, I understand all the reasons why you're saying it. There's definitely things about it that looks fishy, but we're not them. We're not the other side. And until we have facts and evidence in our hands, then I don't think we should be jumping to conclusions and jumping to assumptions, because that's who they are. We're not that. We don't spread conspiracy theories. We don't spread lies and bullshit. All we want to see is someone held to account. So if someone can bring the evidence to prove otherwise, until that day comes, we're going to continue to stand here no matter what. And we're going to say, we condemn political violence. We do not want to see this happen. This is not the answer. This is not how you get things done. The way you get things done is by voting. And you vote on the side of democracy. And no matter what happened yesterday, folks, Joe Biden is still the one on the side of democracy. Donald Trump is still a convicted felon. He is still someone who has been found liable for sexual abuse. He's still someone who tried to overturn an election he knew he lost. He's still someone who tried to install the fake electors. He's still someone who took the documents and refused to give them back on time. He's still the one who did everything, and he still needs to be held accountable. It doesn't change a thing. He's still the one that took away rights from women. His presidency paved the way for the Supreme Court to strip away Roe versus Wade, to strip away rights for women. So it didn't change any of those things. All it did was rile up the Maga base, get them even more angry than they already were. And instead of their side, the politicians of power like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and different people that's been posting this garbage, instead of them having the decency to bring the temperature down in the room, they just dug in their heels and continued to immediately start blaming this on Biden with no evidence or no proof whatsoever. And it's so ridiculous and stupid to me that I say to myself, that's what we're dealing with come November. These people are ready to vote. And there's some of them saying, oh, this is it. This is it. He's won. He's won in a landslide. I still don't buy that. I still don't buy that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change a thing. It does not make him the victim in this story. It really don't. It was an unfortunate thing that happened. I wish it had never happened. I don't ever want to see anything happen to Donald Trump. I want to see him held accountable. That's it. I want to see him held accountable by the law too. And I don't want him to be above the law. And I don't want a president going in there on day one on a revenge and retribution tour that's got a nicked ear that wants to take away rights from everybody that disagrees with him. So it was a very tragic day. And I've seen so many people that's been on here on the right. I saw Charlie Kirk mouth off for 2 minutes or more and never one time said a word about the victim that passed behind him. I've saw people. I've not saw very many people offering their condolences. I've heard people on the left doing it, and Donald Trump at least did the few posts that he's made. But these MAGA congressmen and politicians are digging in their heels and they're stoking the flames on this. And this kind of rhetoric has to stop. If we're going to come together, this kind of rhetoric has to stop. And the way that happens is Donald Trump has to be the one to start bringing the temperature down in the room. If he goes out to the Republican convention and just tries to capitalize on this, then it should show you exactly what he is. It should show you that he's not fit for office, that kind of temperament is not fit for office. For those of you who turned on Howard Dean because he screamed at a rally, for those of you that turned on Dan Quayle because he put an E on the end of potato, you never to really stop and think long and hard before you say, well, yeah, this guy got nicked in the ear, so we're going to let him back into power. It doesn't change the facts, folks. It really doesn't. We still got a ways to go before the election, and I encourage everybody to condemn the political violence. I encourage everybody to always call for peace, and I encourage people to not buy into conspiracy theories. Wait till you have the facts in your hands before you go to making assumptions. I think that's as far as we can be. And again, I hope Donald Trump is okay. I want to see him well, to stand up and face accountability. That's all I want to see, folks.